Doug Ray is the CEO of Carat. Under Doug's leadership, Carat has seen a 75% boost in U.S. revenue. He's here to speak with us about the future of the business, and he's one of the great leaders in advertising today as he's leading Carat U.S. and maybe soon the world. Come on up, Doug, and nice to see you. Doug Ray.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. Is everyone feeling good? Some great speeches already this morning. I'm certainly energized by them. So first of all, thank you, Barry, for the opportunity, and thank you to the DPAA. I have to say the last couple of weeks have been really interesting for me. I've had no less than a dozen or so people texting me, calling me, and emailing me saying, I just saw your face on the inside of a taxi cab in the promotion for this. I don't know if anyone's had any experience like that. I haven't had a lot of experiences like that. So the first thing I'll say is that digital out-of-home actually works as proof of that. So, you know, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about for the next 15 minutes or so, and you know, with the title of this and the theme being digital everywhere, video everywhere, I mean, it really got me thinking about what are the conversations that I'm having with CMOs and with marketing executives around the struggles that they're facing as it relates to video in particular. And video is still the strongest way to communicate, to engage, to move products and services that our clients have. And we really are at a point of inflection as it relates to video, certainly, and how people are consuming and engaging in that. So what I'm going to talk about today is a fundamental point of view that we believe in, that we have to change the paradigm in how we talk about communications today and how we talk about media. And we actually have to move away from the legacy, we believe, of talking about ourselves as a media company or even a media agency. And we have to start thinking of ourselves much more as a people-based company and as an audience agency. Because I think that in order for us to make sense about all the changes and the fragmentation that's going on in the world today, particularly in the video space, if you follow the consumer and you have better data in order to follow that consumer, whether that's geographic data, location data, or other types of data that help us bridge the disparate ecosystems that exist from a video standpoint, we will help our clients sell more products and will help them achieve what they're asking for, which is more for less. So I want to start off by saying, actually, I think we are in the golden era of video. I don't think that there's been a better time, at least that I can remember, in terms of the video content that is out there and available to consumers. So just take a look at this.
Here's the story.
As consumers cut their cable cords, they're turning to the internet to watch TV shows.
Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Video, HBO Now.
1 in 3 American households now have a Netflix subscription.
40 million subscriptions. We've got so many streaming devices.
Apple TV, Amazon Fire, Roku 4, Chromecast.
This is like the best show on TV right now.
Winter is coming.
Stephen Avery spent 18 years in prison for something he didn't do.
18 years.
18 years.
Are you kidding me? It's moments like this why I love Idol, why I'm gonna miss it so much. Home sweet home.
I started selling drugs when I was 9 years old. I did it to feed myself.
Who are the ladies?
Avi, we're the ladies.
Clearly that is a man.
This is my father, and he's a woman.
Brody has kept every promise he's made to us.
He's a man who put on a suicide vest, Carrie. That's who he always will be. Every day I'm shuffling.
Snapchat is now serving 6 billion video views a day.
Instagram, Vine, there's a very large audience.
500 million people are watching video on Facebook every day.
Brands want to be a part of the story. BuzzFeed has found this way to get people curious about video.
This is a smart fridge. You can actually watch television from the refrigerator screen.
But there's room for everything. There's room for long-form pieces, and there's room for a lot of short-form pieces.
There is no textbook about how to do this. It's really just those who are brave enough to try.
Yeah, you're all gonna be doing that.
How many people watch The Walking Dead? Right? All right, so here's an interesting question. How many of us, and I'm in that camp, have actually sat down on an afternoon and watched more than 5 or 6 hours of TV, binge watched a show? Our behaviors are fundamentally changing. The way that people are engaging with video content is not in a linear format anyway. It is not in their living room anymore. It is on multiple devices. It is on the go. It is away from the home as well. And I think the exciting thing is that actually viewing a video is at an all-time high. Right? Just over the last 15 years, we've gone from just under 5 hours of consuming video content to almost 6 hours of video content. Now, what's really interesting is you look at the complexity of how we're viewing that content, and you can certainly see in 2015 a lot more pieces of the pie representing far more ways that we are actually engaging with content. So video is here. We're in the golden age. It is really exciting. But here's the challenge, is that the legacy models that most of our clients have actually grown up with, understanding how to drive business results, utilizing video content, are falling apart because of that fragmentation. And I thought this was an interesting data point. We looked at over 300 different market mix models across multiple different categories over the course of the last several years. And what you can see is that overall, and what you're not seeing is the other media channels here, but television continues to be the greatest driver of sales contribution outside of things like pricing, distribution, and so on. But what's happening is you can see the erosion of that contribution over the last several years. So where it was almost 7% total contribution on average across these 300 different campaigns, we're now less than 5% volume contribution. This is fundamentally an issue, because if we keep doing what we've always done, we will continue to see the erosion of the business results from our clients. And this is the reason that that's happening, right? And we talked about it. The fireside chat just talked about some of the challenges in terms of the fragmentation, the number of channels, the number of platforms that are going on, right? So how do you make sense out of this, right? Because there's a lot of people in the audience out there that are actually trying to speak to agencies like mine and trying to figure out how they can solve some of those challenges. And the challenge often is, where do I start, right? And that tends to be our challenge as well. And we believe that the answer is actually starting to think more about people. And we need to stop starting with the channel first, and we have to start with the people, the audience first. Because if we start with the channel, we will default to what we've always done. If we start with the audience, we will look to what data do we have to identify that audience. How do we then find those individuals regardless of the screen that they're engaging in? And then how do we measure the success of that approach that we're taking? And that ultimately starts to challenge the whole notion around what is a media agency and the value that we can bring. I'll tell you, I've been part of a lot of new business pitches over the course of the last couple of years. And what happened last year was a shift, because the conversation, every single pitch, there was a question around data strategy. That didn't happen in 2014. So there's something going on in terms of understanding people and understanding how we leverage different disparate data sets in order to bring more value and unify that consumer experience. So we do believe that unlocking the power of people-based data can actually drive a transformational growth to our clients' business. Now, I'm going to take you through two very top-line examples just to kind of make this a little bit more practical for you, because I think there's two ways that we can start to think about data, right? One way that we can think about this is in a very addressable format, which is we can identify individuals based on name and address, and then we can actually address those individuals either directly because we've made a data match between a media owner's data and the existing unique ID, name and address, of the data that we have, or we can take that individual and we can look for a proxy on that, or we can extend the audience utilizing other third-party data sets. So the first thing is, I'm just going to use this as an example, which is looking at online shoppers, right? So when we look at our database of about 95, we have data on about 95% of US households, right? And if we look at online shoppers, there's 201 million unique records that we can identify, name, address, or email address, that someone has purchased online, Now what's interesting is the ability, that's fantastic, and you can start to get a lot of insights about that individual. Imagine now overlaying that with geographic data and location data, and starting to understand where are those online shoppers more likely to be engaging. We handle a lot of retail business. Home Depot, Macy's, Staples, General Motors, and their dealerships. They're very interested in understanding this fundamental dynamic that's going on in the disintermediation of the retail experience and following those customers. What you then see on the right side are a number of different media owners. And what you see there are the numbers of unique IDs of that online shopper. So of the 201 million unique records, how many of those people can we find in Pandora or on eBay or on Amazon, so that we can uniquely target those people? So this is addressability. And when you look at addressable TV, this is not something that's relatively new. It's been around for a while. The difference is being able to take an audience, a CRM database, a unique data set, and actually connect it to a media owner's unique data, so there is no loss of data. So this is where we're going. This is the future. But this is not at scale at this point. What we also have to do is we have to think about other disparate data sets as well. So when you think about video, which is the greatest spending of most of our clients out there, someone talked about the issue with the fragmentation, the erosions in the linear space, and absolutely, we're seeing significant drop-offs, but as you saw, people are still viewing. So we need to find a way to bring together different disparate data sets. So we've been working with some of these major media companies to gain access to their unique data so that we have the ability to bring together a Nielsen reach curve, a ComScore, or a full episode player, but Hulu, Facebook, YouTube as well. These are major, major video owners. Yet, if you look at and leverage the tools that we have access to, syndicated for the industry, they fail to include most of the data for these major video platforms, which means we're looking at investing our clients' dollars and helping them achieve more for less dollars in a very small and decreasing pool of inventory. So imagine if we actually start to look at beyond some of these suppliers, and this is where we started because this is where a lot of the scale is, but NCM, Captivate, some of the other out-of-home video platforms that allow us to start to look at the same individuals and deduplicate that reach so that we can look at how do we most effectively bring value to our clients. And I'll tell you, this works. This works. So when you do this, what you can see is if we look at millennial shoppers, and we spend about $5 million on that audience, we can achieve about a 45% reach utilizing linear television. However, if we put about a third of that $5 million into digital video, we can increase that reach up to 56%. This isn't a demographic audience. This is an actual marketing target that our clients are looking at. Let's look at people that are actually in the market. Their digital behaviors have indicated that they are in the market shopping for a truck. Again, if we target these people with traditional TV, we're going to be reaching about 48% of them. However, if we start to think about shifting 10, 15% of those dollars over into digital video, we can increase that reach. The exact same dollars is achieving more for our clients. And again, as I said, this works. What we have seen over 40 different cases is that on average, online video is contributing 50% higher return on investment. Now, the interesting thing is when I say digital video, many of the digital video platforms are effectively mobile video platforms. 90% of Facebook's audience in the United States is mobile. So not only are we having conversations with our clients about how do you migrate those dollars and giving them the confidence that we can actually plan this way, but now you run into a real creative challenge, which is that video experience in a news feed is fundamentally different than the video experience sitting in your living room. It's actually quite different even than a YouTube video experience, which is still a horizontal video experience. So yesterday we had a mobility summit. We had about 70 clients that were here for about 5 hours where we went very deep in mobile and mobility. And one of the biggest issues is solving the creative challenge. So part of my challenge to this community as well is how do we help to bring together disparate data sets, and how do we help our clients start to think about what is the most relevant creative execution within that format? Because we're seeing this kind of return on investment. We also know that TV tends to drive more volume than online video. So this is not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This is actually looking for a complementary approach. And what we found is about 20 to 30% of a client's TV dollars should be spent in some form of online video. And by doing that, we are seeing on average, again, across the 40 case studies that we looked at, an average of a 15% improvement in the results of that client. So just to sum this up, I think people have absolutely redefined video. You have redefined this industry, right? We are consumers. We are people. We engage with video every single day. Sometimes we forget that. You know, sometimes we forget that and we just focus on whatever the information is in front of us. And sometimes that information just doesn't really reflect what people are doing. So we have to use our intuition. We have to think about how we actually are engaging, right? Because we're fundamentally changing it. We also know that data and the embrace of data will lead us to better audience strategies, better audience planning, and better audience buying. And I believe that we need to actually move from thinking of ourselves as an agency that optimizes platforms and media channels to an agency that is specializing in understanding people and their behaviors and their way that they engage with brands through video, and we need to do that better than anybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We're going to move it along quick, but I really like your people first and impression first. That's really the goal. It's eyeballs these times, which is terrific. And so thank you for that. That was wonderful. And also nice seeing your face on all the Verifone and CMT taxis around. It's kind of a fun experience, right?
Yeah, very fun.
My daughter gets texts from all her friends. Did I see your dad on the taxi and stuff?
Yeah. Well, actually, I heard about it from friends before I even knew it was running. And
no kidding.
And then imagine my surprise when I'm actually on a phone with somebody in a taxi. I'm like, oh, that's my face. Right. Very weird. Very weird experience.
It works well.
Yeah.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Barry. All right, take care.